We have some major breaking news to discuss here right before Thursday Night Football against the Houston Texans. Got a new update on Keon Coleman and his status for Thursday night with some new comments from Sean McDermott. Plus, we know who's playing and who's not in Week 12 against Houston. Going to dive into all that, the Bills injury report from Wednesday in just a moment. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because when we hear Bills news, we report it right here on the Bills Breakdown. We are very, very close as well to our next milestone of 8,500 subscribers. Just need 76 more members of the Mafia to go down below and hit the subscribe button because when you do, you get free Bills coverage every single day right here for free. All right, ruled out for Thursday Night Football. Unfortunately, the Bills will be without the services of Dalton Kincaid, who has been dealing with his hamstring injury for a couple of weeks now. Did not play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 11. Mecole Hardman is dealing with a calf injury. Unfortunate here for the Bills newcomer. They brought him in to kind of help the Bills do a little bit better with their return game and did have a nice return in Week 11 with that 60-yard kick return, then ended up fumbling his next time out on a punt return try, and he ended up injuring his calf on that play. And what we know about a calf injury is it's never going to be just a one-week thing, so he's ruled out here for Thursday Night Football on a short week, and Brandon Cotterton was brought up to the practice squad. We'll see if they decide to elevate him for some more return duties. Plus, Curtis Samuel, who's also a player who can return kicks from time to time, he is out with an elbow and neck injury thing he's got going on. So we'll continue to monitor the receivers and their injuries here. This is what your wide receiver room looks like for Week 12. Keon Coleman going to be there still in the starting lineup, but I'm going to make a comment on that later on today's video. You got Josh Palmer back. Khalil Shakir has been dealing with some personal issues. He was not practicing Monday or Tuesday, but was a full participant on the Wednesday walkthrough. Curtis Samuel, like I said, Mecole Hardman, they're going to be out. And Elijah Moore was a healthy scratch last week. We'll see if he gets called up as well. But we'll talk about Gabe Davis as well in a moment here, who is not officially on the 53-man roster. I do think you really needed a Kincaid in a game like this with the way that the secondary has been playing in Houston, specifically at the cornerback spot with Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. Those guys play some of the stickiest coverage in all of football. So over the middle, you needed a guy like Kincaid. Going to be asking a lot of Dawson Knox in this game, I would bet. But hopefully we can get some quick hitters to some guys like Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, and a guy like Gabe Davis as well, who's likely to be another practice squad elevation here. Tight end Kaleki Latu will also probably get the call up with Kincaid out. He only played about 5 or 6 snaps in Week 11 against Tampa Bay. But Gabe Davis is probably going to play a bigger factor than he did in his Bills debut this season. He looks healthy out there. It looks like there's a connection and a comfortability factor between him and Josh Allen. So expect to see more Gabe Davis as the season progresses along here. A player who's the only questionable player for the Bills on the injury report this week is Vidarian Mathis with a shoulder injury. So honestly, not too bad. We don't have a lot of question marks going into Thursday night's action. And this isn't the worst news in the world. He could be available for this game, but if he's not, the Bills are really starting to get healthy, all things considered, with them having a bunch of guys on IR along the defensive line. But along the interior of that defensive line, they're starting to get a little bit more healthy. Daquan Jones seems to be back, and he's making an impact in the backfield. Deion Walker continues to make strides as a rookie here, a steal in the 4th round of April's draft. You got TJ Sanders back from injured reserve, and he looks to be making an impact. Larry Ogunjobi's playing. You got Jordan Phillips as well, who's been making a couple of plays in his return to Buffalo. So the Bills seem to be relatively healthy at the defensive tackle spot. If Mathis is unable to go, I think the Bills will be fine over there. But obviously with Michael Hoyt, Ed Oliver, Landon Jackson all on IR, that edge rushing spot is really hurt here for the Bills' home stretch. All things considered, though, this is a relatively clean injury report for the Buffalo Bills. Week after week after week, it feels like the Bills got 3, 4, 5 guys all out, and there's a bunch more questionable, and guys are playing hurt and playing through nagging injuries that have been lingering all season long. It seems like things are pretty clean heading into this game against Houston, and that's good news considering this is going to be a very physical game against the Texans. If you wanted to see what the full injury report looks like, because it's so extensive, we had all these guys, and it was just walkthrough practices this week, so nothing too crazy. You expect to see a lot of names in the limited category, but outside of the names that are questionable / out for Week 12, everybody practiced or walked through in full, including some names like Christian Bedford, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa. You got Taron Johnson on there as well. A bunch of guys who have already missed time this season, but looks like they'll all be available and ready to go for Week 12. With that being said, I want you to light the comment section up right now. Let everybody know on YouTube that Bills Mafia is out there ready to win in Week 12. Who do you got in this Thursday Night Football matchup? If it's the Bills, type BUF down in the comment section. If you're a Texans fan watching this video, just looking for a little bit of bulletin board material, type HOU. I want to see if there's any fans down in H-Town watching today's show. Next up, we're going to talk about another player that is going to be active for Week 12 against Houston. Looks like the Bills are standing by and sticking by Keon Coleman, number 0. We're going to tell you what Sean McDermott had to say about Coleman's response to his benching last week around the corner. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor on today's video. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better on PrizePicks. As the weather continues to change, the feeling of being right never gets old. So get started with $50 instantly in lineups on America's #1 daily fantasy sports app and download PrizePicks. It's so simple to play. It's the most aesthetically pleasing daily fantasy sports app in the game, and they have the best features. To make a lineup, though, all you guys got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. You watch the winnings roll in. It takes less than 60 seconds to create a lineup. And like I said, PrizePicks separates themselves because of the features that they offer, like stacks. So if you want to take multiple stat projections from the same player and put it in the same lineup on PrizePicks, you can do so. It's also becoming a social event as well, where you can follow your friends, follow creators, follow celebrities, and copy their lineups into your own using the brand new Feed tab. You can even copy my lineup for Thursday night. I got AJ Epinesa with a little demon pick, which means a higher payout for that square, more than a quarter of a sack there. I think they're going to get to Davis Mills in prime time. James Cook, more than 75.5 rushing yards. I am thinking that the Bills are going to get their run game going a little bit more in this week with the secondary of Houston being so ferocious. And then Woody Marks, more than 74.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I think Woody Marks is going to be an absolute factor, and we know how bad the Bills' run defense is, to be quite honest with you. You can tell my picks or fade them. Just do it at PrizePicks. Download the app today, and new users can get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, but you got to use the promo code that you see in the bottom right of your screen, CLNS. Download the app today, use that code CLNS, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Sean McDermott said this on Keon Coleman and acknowledged the way that he responded to the media and answered all those questions in the postgame after the game against Tampa Bay. He said, right now, let's just call it a day and a half since game day. So I'm aware of how he handled it publicly, and I appreciate that and respect that. So the words are good per Sean McDermott, but it's really not about what you say. It's about what you do. It's about actions. And how is Keon Coleman responding to all this? Well, more from McDermott here on the whole situation. He said, now, again, it's one day at a time and earning that trust and respect of all the teammates. And that takes time. But each day that goes by, you check them off as wins. That trust builds, so that's the important piece of it. So basically, he didn't necessarily bury Keon Coleman, but he didn't really shower him with praise either. And with the way that this Bills wide receiver room looks like this week, it doesn't really leave them much of a choice to go out there and bench Keon Coleman again. When you have 2 days missed of practice by Khalil Shakir, when you healthy scratched Elijah Moore last week, even though Khalil Shakir was still benched. You have Curtis Samuel out. You have Mecole Hardman out. The Bills kind of really don't have much of a choice here when it comes to playing Keon Coleman. Now, how much Keon Coleman will we see in Week 12? That is still up in the air. I don't think it's going to be as much as we normally do, and neither does Joe Biscaglia of The Athletic, who reports on the Bills all the time, and he had this insight on Coleman. He said it wouldn't be a surprise if his role changes significantly. Before his benching, Coleman was on the field for nearly 71% of the team's offensive snaps. Due to his play, the changing lineup, and now the discipline, he may wind up going from a priority for snaps to merely a rotational piece. The presence of Gabe Davis, who Josh Allen trusts implicitly, along with how well Tyrell Shavers played last week, may have a direct impact on Keon Coleman's overall play on the boundary. Davis and Coleman play the same position after all. It does create an opportunity for Coleman to work more as a slot receiver and use Shakir if he plays a bit more creatively. However, to expect Coleman to walk back into a 71% role would not be a safe bet. So it looks like we're going to see a little bit closer to 50%, maybe even less than half of the snaps on offense for Keon Coleman. At this point, we know, Keon Coleman doesn't necessarily give out the most effort running through his routes. He and Josh Allen don't have the best connection. His comments have pretty much signified that. It's really up to Keon Coleman how he responds to this. When he goes out there and gets the opportunities against Houston this week, against some of the best CBs in this league. So a real test for him. How will he respond? Will he be going full speed through these routes? Will he create any type of separation to earn himself more playing time in this Bills lineup? I haven't seen much so far this season that suggests that, but maybe this benching here and this real shoving down the depth chart will kind of light a light bulb in his head or give him a swift kick in the ass as far as what he needs, because I think he should not be starting so far in this game against Houston. He really hasn't done much based on Sean McDermott's comments or really anything that we've heard from Bills media to signify that he should start. And when you consider what Tyrell Shavers did in the same role essentially as Keon Coleman last week, puts up 4 catches for 90 yards, a touchdown, like he was making big plays out there, and he's a factor on special teams, and he's a really good run blocker as well. Like, Tyrell Shavers has put his head down, stayed quiet, and done everything that he needs to do in order to start here. So Keon Coleman's snap count, if you're taking anything away from this video, is that it's going to decrease, and Tyrell Shavers is going to see the field more along with Gabe Davis. Pick one to start for me down in the comment section before we get out of today's video. Keon Coleman, type 0. If you still believe in the second-year player, let me know down in the comment section. If you think it's Tyrell Shavers, though, type 14. Baby Diggs down below. And let me know what you guys think about some more about this wide receiver room on Twitter. Give me a follow over there. You can hit me up on social media. We'll be talking more Bills all the time as the season gets deeper and deeper. At Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/BillsNews for the latest and greatest on your Buffalo Bills all season long. We will be live tomorrow as well for Texans versus Bills right here on the channel. So we'll see you guys all then. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.